Welcome to the Kind Leader Podcast, where empathy meets action in the world of leadership. Your host, Gino DeGregory, engages with innovators and seasoned professionals from diverse sectors, all demonstrating the power of leading with kindness. And now, your host, Gino DeGregory.
Welcome to the Kind Leader Podcast. I'm your host, Gino DeGregory. Today, we have the honor of welcoming Denis McFarlane to our podcast. Denis is the founder and CEO of Infinitive, a data and AI consultancy here in the DC area who has been a leader for over 2 decades. He's also a pilot, and most importantly, he's a kind leader. So welcome, Denis. Could you please share with our audience a bit about yourself and your background?
Thanks, Gino. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here. It was nice to meet you at the airport a couple months ago and appreciate being on. A little bit about me. My wife, Kathleen, and I have lived in Loudoun County since 1998. Our oldest son was born then. We have 4 kids. I grew up in the consulting industry. Kathleen and I met at Accenture, formerly Anderson Consulting.
Yep.
And after about 12 years there, I realized my future there was behind me and decided to start my own business. It was a dream I had for a long time. And started Infinitive in 2003, and it's been an unbelievably fun and wild ride. As you know, starting any business, leading any business can be. That's just been, I always joke and say Infinitive is my 5th child. So
that's funny. I say the same thing. You know, we're almost 17. I'm like, my kid is, I actually had my 2nd kid right before I started the company. So every time I look at him, and he's driving now, and I'm looking at the company, we're 16, it's like, oh man, I got a teenager here.
That's right.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing your background, and it's been a pleasure getting to know you, and I'm glad you were able to participate here in this podcast. The first question that I ask my guests here: what does being a kind leader mean to you?
To me, it'd be one word: care. You got to genuinely care about the people that are on your team. You got to want them to be successful. You got to want them to enjoy their job, their career with you. And if they feel like you're there and you're rooting for them and you're there to help them, I think you can get a lot more out of them. I think they'll enjoy the experience a lot more and be, grateful to be a part of the team and hopefully stay as long as possible and feel a little bit more loyalty than they would otherwise.
Absolutely. Caring is definitely something that you have to have as a kind leader. And I feel like when we kind of talk about this all the time, do you have an example? Like, do you mind sharing of what you've experienced as a leader yourself, or maybe you had a leader that in the past that showed you, helped you through that?
I think my parents. My dad was a retired Army colonel. My mom was a nurse turning nursing professor. I saw that they lived in, their careers were, serving. Right? My dad serving our country, my mom serving humanity as a nurse. And they all kind of elevated into, roles in their careers where they were leading. Mm-hmm. And I would see them interact with people in very kind ways, very fun ways. You would enjoy being around my parents. Mm-hmm. So I learned that from them.
That's awesome. Yeah. I think I was sharing with you earlier before we got on, I was actually born in South America. Yeah. And you talk about parents, right? It's like, can you imagine taking your family from Ashburn and Loudoun and taking them to a different country and then starting from scratch? And that's what I experienced. I learned a lot. You mentioned your parents. I learned about my parents too, because not only about working hard, but caring about not only the family, but being kind to others was something that I learned at the early stages. I can completely relate.
Well, I think your story's a bit more interesting than mine, Gino. I traveled the country as an Army brat for a while, but then my dad was stationed around DC since 1st grade. So I've been in the DC area, which is a booming economy because of the government contracting. So I had a lot of stability compared to you transplanting across the world.
Right.
I still feel very blessed, but I'm always impressed and admire people with a story like yours.
I appreciate that. I feel like I have the immigrant mentality, right? You come in here and I'll never forget, I don't know if I shared this with our audience. My dad, he was a banker in Peru. So he wore suits and ties all the time. And the first job he had here, It was a dishwasher at a restaurant in LaFont Plaza here in DC. And to see that, right? I mean, I was a kid. I was 10 years old, so I didn't really care to me. But the process that he had to go through, the humility, the humbleness, right? That he had to go through to be like, here I am, a big shot, right? In managing multiple banks. And now in my 30s have to now go wash dishes. Start over to give my kids a better life. I mean, I feel blessed to be able to.
It's a great story. I mean, it's very humbling for me, right? Like I hear that story and I go, wow. I mean, how lucky were you that your parents made that decision, right? And did that.
Yeah. And I appreciate that. They almost went to Canada, so it's like, oh, I could have been Canada.
Yeah, that would have been a bad decision. Go USA.
I know, right? Exactly. Team USA. But we talk about our families, and our families are very important, right? And we have kids, that we try to share the same kind of philosophy as it relates to being kind and caring with others, right? But within your organization, what are some of the things, I know you have core values, for example, right? That may or may not resonate with some of this stuff, but I think they're closely aligned, that you're open to sharing about, how your organization leads with that kind of, philosophy.
Well, one thing that you won't find on our website is we have a no assholes policy, right? So, it's understood that you've got to be a nice person to work at Infinitive. You've got to care. You've got to think about others. I meet with everybody on their first day, and I share with them the 3 expectations that everybody in the company has, including myself. And that is, the first is to kick ass for our clients. That's table stakes. If you can't do well with our clients, I'm sorry, you're not going to work out here. Yeah. And the second is help your fellow Infinitivians. And that is, all about being on a team. You want to help your colleagues. You want to help those that are reporting to you. You want to help those you're reporting to be successful. And the final one is to have fun. Everybody's expectation is that they enjoy their job. If they're not enjoying their job, why are you staying here?
Right.
And that's an important thing to say. If you want to enjoy your job, you're going to have to be friendly and nice and easy to work with. You're going to need to work with others that are friendly and nice and easy to work with.
Right.
So, having fun, the line of fun ends when somebody else is not having fun. Like if it's fun to make fun of someone, that's not the fun we're talking about, right? Because that's not fun for somebody, right? So it's about building an environment that's enjoyable and you feel cared for, and that'll make it more fun.
That's amazing. No, I appreciate that. And fun is always critical because if you're not having fun, I mean, you only live once, right? Why stay where you are, right? And then I love the kind of collaboration and supporting your fellow Infinitive, if I'm saying it right, Infinitivians. Yeah. Because I feel like one of our core values is similar to yours is the rise together, right? Yeah. It's like you got to work together. The higher we rise together, the better the company goes overall, right? And then I like the table stakes is like, kick ass with your customers, right? Because if you're not bringing value to your customers, then we're not going to have a business, or we're not having a team or a project or whatever, right? So those 3 things, I love that. I love how the first day you talk to your employees and kind of educate them on what the expectations are, right? And how does that translate? I'm sure you have folks that have worked with you for a few months or a few years, and you have folks that have been there for a long time with you, right? Yep. How do you continue to build that culture? How do you continue to really, continue to fuel the fire, right? Every
well, I think it starts with. Well, actually, let me step back and talk about the collaboration.
Sure.
Do you remember the movie? There was a guy, I think he went to school in Fairfax County, and he traveled to Alaska by himself, and he did all this cool stuff. There was a movie about him, and he ended up dying in a VW van, one of those old vans. Yeah. He ate some bad plants that poisoned him, and he was writing, and he knew he was going to die. Oh, and man. He wrote this thing as I can't believe I can't remember the movie. But he wrote at the end, like, happiness needs to be shared. Essentially, to be truly happy, you need to share it with someone, right? So you can't, just, if you want to have fun, it's more fun. You'll be more happy if you're doing it with others, right? So the value of teamwork and enjoying your occupation, the way you can earn a living, is exponentially higher if you're doing it with other folks, right? So that's a very important thing. And when we talk about collaboration, rising together, it's the together that matters, right? That's where it's way more enjoyable. So I would never be a good lawyer because my sense of them is, yes, they work with others, but they spend a lot of time reading and learning and writing, and it's very individual driven.
Right.
I could be getting that wrong. But in my mind, being a CEO is really fun because it's all about building a team.
Right.
You got to have people around you that are good and competent. You got to have people around you that you like. Right. So you don't have to have people around you that you like, but it's a lot more fun when you do. Right. So, so I just wanted to hit the teamwork thing a little bit because that's so important. And when it comes to enjoying your 8 to 10 hour days of work. Right. So you were asking about how do we reinforce our culture.
Right.
So as you can imagine, a lot of it is getting together. Right. With this new remote world we're in where, our clients maybe require us at the site 3 days a week. So a lot of folks can work from home. They can come to the office. We try to do as many in-person meetings, as many meetings as we can together. So certainly remote, virtual. When we try to do in-person as many as we can, we have a monthly in-person meeting. We have a weekly video conference.
Is that weekly where you get the whole company together?
Yeah, everybody's invited, but not everybody can make it because they've got meetings. But of course. And then we have twice a year we have what we call Infun a Day, where we get everybody together for a day.
Okay.
Try to do something fun, have guest speakers or something, but it's everybody together. And so that kind of reinforces the togetherness. And during those conversations, those meetings, we'll always try to reinforce key components of our culture.
Yeah.
We have our core values, but we also have something we've recently rolled out called fundamentals. So we have 18 to 20 fundamentals that align with the core values, but they're more of expectations of behaviors we expect, right? So one of them is invest in relationships. Another is speak straight. Another is be great, right? You strive to be great, right? So, and every week we pick one, and that's the topic of the week. And we'll have either myself or another leader write an email saying, this is what this fundamental means to me.
Okay.
And at the beginning of every meeting where there's a group of folks, we talk about that fundamental for 2 minutes.
Right.
What does it mean to somebody? And we have somebody provide a commentary on what it means to them and why. So it's a nice one to to really focus. One of the best one we've had recently, we all joke about, is listen generously.
I like that.
Boy, everybody that week really did a good job listening. Did a great job listening. I mean, it was so, everybody's so thoughtful, and thank you for those words, and appreciate that week's very good. Everybody's listening, because I tend to be somebody that gets excited, and I accidentally interrupt people because I get they'll be saying something, and I get excited and go, "That's right," So that week I listened through.
There you go. That's awesome. That's great. I mean, I love all the little things that you're doing as an entrepreneur, as the leader, and with the other leaders in the organization to really inspire, I guess, and instill a lot of these core values that you have, right? And as it relates to the individuals, you have different generations, I would imagine, just like we are with, the new generations coming on board. What I found is some of those, you have the right communication and foundation, but sometimes you have to cater a little bit more to those type of individuals. And what I've noticed, what I'm trying to get at is also a mindset, right? You can be different generations, but also if those individuals have the right mindset or the mindset to understand what we're trying to do from a leadership perspective, from a kind leadership perspective, what expectation is, right? So, and going to like the growth and scarcity mindset, that's where I'm getting at, right? Some folks may have that scarcity mindset where the world is against them, or everything is, this is happening because to me, and, I can't do this because this X, Y, and Z. Or you have the growth mindset where the world is happening for you, where you have the opportunity. I don't know if you ever heard that the world happening to me or the world is happening for you, where you are learning. You take those challenges or opportunities as ways to learn on how you can become a better leader, a better person, and really build something there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. It's, I certainly believe in the abundance mentality. Yeah. Like we all can be successful. I certainly believe that it's about believing, right? I coached youth sports for years. I loved it. And I would always pull a kid aside and say, hey, listen, we got a problem. Because if I think you're better than you think you are, you're never going to be as good as I think you can be. So the first thing you need to do is start believing in yourself and think you're better than you think you are, right? So, boy, that was very confusing. But the message was very clear. Hey, you got to believe you can do it. And, if you can't, you can't. But if you don't believe you can do it, there's never a shot, right? So there is that mindset. You have to manifest your own destiny, right? You got to believe that you can do it, right?
Yeah.
And as an entrepreneur, I tell people all the time, entrepreneurs by nature are dumb. We are dumb, right? Think about it. 100% of entrepreneurs start a business believing they're going to be successful.
Right.
Tried and true stat over time is 90% fail within 2 years.
Yeah.
That stat's out there, right? But 100% of us believe we're going to be successful.
Right.
And 90% will fail, right? We're dumb. Thankfully, we're dumb. Thankfully, we're ignorant to that fact, right? So we believe what we have is something really special.
Yeah.
And we're going to do something a little bit different,
right?
Whether it's do something different or do it in a different way, right?
Right.
You and I, we're in professional services.
Right.
So we will do things in a different way, right? Because anybody can provide talented technologists, right?
Right.
But it's the how we do it and the who we provide to our clients that's the differentiation.
Right.
Yes, they got to have great skills, but do they have the passion and energy?
Right.
Does the client believe that they're going to be able to do it? Right. So definitely on the abundance, not on the scarcity.
And it's funny. I mean, you mentioned belief too, and I always quote, you watched the show, Ted Lasso, right?
Yeah.
That's why. And it truly is a belief. And for me is when I talk to people and I mentor people, is really, what do you believe in yourself? What can you, because the minute you make that flip, I believe I can do X, Y, and Z. As you mentioned, the universe will provide you a lot of the stuff compared to like, if you have the shift of, I can't do this because all these different challenges, right? It's not going to happen, right? So it really is. And that's one of the things that I write when I mentor here in the organization is you got to change that mindset, having that abundance mindset that anything is possible, and having the mindset where if challenges are there, use them as an opportunity to learn and listen.
Yeah. And I'm sure you found this too. You had specific plans and great ideas at doing something. And when it became reality, it was slightly different than what you envisioned, right? But you were vectoring in the right direction, and that direction was success. That direction was goodness, right? For the business. And to me, I always just want to be vectoring in the right direction. Like I got to be flexible as to what the results are. The results need to be good, but they don't have to be as good as I expected in the exact area that I expected with who I expect. It's just we've got to be going the right way, right? So
it's a good point. It's like thunderstorms will be there, or icing will be, as pilots, will be there. It's a matter of how do we, once we're up in the air, and hopefully the audience can understand some of what I'm trying to say, but once we're in the air, we navigate around. Our destination is still the same, right? But we may not can't go a direct line now. We may have to deviate 10 degrees, 20 degrees to avoid some of the stuff, but at the end of the day, we'll come back towards the direction. So my point to all of this, what you're saying is you have to adapt, right, to some of the things that come your way and have the belief that I am still going to make it no matter what, some way. It might take us 10 years, it might take us 20 years, right? But you still believe that we're going to make an impact. We're going to make a change. We're going to do different things differently to bring that value to our customers. So.
Completely agree. It's up to us to create our future.
Exactly.
Right? The future shouldn't, futures just don't happen. Success just doesn't randomly happen to people.
Right.
Right. It's our job to kind of lead the team, but I want people on the team that are pushing me too, right? That'll help me create a better future for the company and for them.
Absolutely.
Right. So,
yeah. And it's not just entrepreneurs, right? I mean, really, the reason I put this podcast together is to not only share this kind leadership mentality approach, not only for business owners or entrepreneurs, but everybody, right? New folks coming out into the working world from the universities, or people who are, feel like they're stuck, you can make a difference, go somewhere else where you appreciate it, right? So that belief that you're talking about, that we're talking about, it can be with anybody. You don't have to be just an entrepreneur.
I completely agree. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't want to. I don't want people to feel that way at all.
Yeah,
but it is. I mean, you're so right. Would you rather make a couple grand more and be in an environment where you're not appreciated? Mm-hmm. I mean, how much is being appreciated and feeling a sense of worth and value?
Absolutely.
Right, and being cared for. Some people leave and they'll go to another place for literally a couple $1,000s, and then you'll find out they're not happy. The culture is very different. They kind of took our culture for granted.
Right.
So there's value in that at the personal level for everyone, right? And I think you give what you get too, right?
Yeah, for sure.
If you expect kindness, you better be kind back, right?
Exactly. Yeah. That's the thing. Like I don't know why this popped up, but I tell my kids sometimes, if you want a friend, be a friend.
Yeah.
Same thing. Right? If you want kindness, be kind.
Yeah.
Just because it reciprocates. It's that energy that we're all energy at the end of the day, right? And what energy you bring to the table that day is what you're going to get,
My inverse to that, I actually just shared this the other day with somebody. Be kind and nice to people until you shouldn't be, right? Like you start out being nice, but if they're not going to reciprocate, don't waste your energy. Move on to the people that you're going to get along with.
And you bring up a great point, because in the business world, kind or in the, we serve a lot of like military customers, right? And in that world, in the mission where people are, decisions, will impact people's lives essentially, right? Sometimes kindness gets pushed to the side because it's got to get done. But I think you don't have to necessarily put it to the side. I think you combine it with accountability. You combine it with expectations, right? And you can deliver the message in a way that resonates and impacts and maybe even sometimes influences those people even more than the opposite, where it's like, you got to do it because I'm telling you, I'm your commanding, blah, 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 right? It's more like, how do you get to the people's heart to share with that you're making an impact at the end of the day? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Have you noticed that some people have some expectation of you as a leader where they're surprised that you're kind and you care? They're surprised. Like I tend to crack a lot of what I think are incredibly funny jokes, but maybe they're not so funny. But, they have an expectation that a leader should be more serious, that a leader should be more stern and directing. And I don't know if it's their just view of what a CEO should be, but in the military, I mean, there's an expectation of our society that the military needs to be hard charging, non-caring. And my brother Matt is a general in the Army, and he got his 2nd star, and there was a 4-star general that pinned him. And we did the meeting with him prior to the promotion. We family met with the 4-star, who was an amazing man. And he said something that blew me away. And he said, the Army needs more happy generals. I mean, everything you're doing with this podcast, like the Army needs more happy generals. And that's so deep. That's such a deep statement that, it made me just realize, because everybody expects a general to just be hard charging, boom, boom, boom. But if you find a friendly general, you'll run through a wall for somebody that if this important person who says, I need your help in a nice way. I need your help. We need to do this. We need to do it this way. You're going to run through a wall for them versus somebody screaming at you.
Yeah.
And I think there's a perception that that's what our generals do, but they don't. I think it happens more at the lower ranks because they think that's the expectation.
It's the power,
the power trip, right? But that was a big lesson. I came back from that event and told everybody at work, I was like, hey, let's make sure we're happy. I mean, I think we're generally viewed as happier than, military folks, but I applied that to me.
Absolutely.
And, when I'm grumpy or in a bad mood, I need to be mindful of that. That's going to have an impact on people.
Yeah. So the impact, you said it 100%. And I'm trying to coin this word, generational impact. And what I mean by that is, you've heard generational wealth while you're building, right? But the impact that you're making in people's lives are generational. Meaning, like, as you're changing people's lives or helping people to become something else, right? Or, the career changes, or giving them the opportunity here, or whatever that you're doing in your organization, it's not just about that one-on-one, it's the one-to-many. To remember that the things that you're saying, when you're kind to somebody, you don't know where they are in that particular moment, that change that you made could impact other lives as well, right? So it's just a different perspective.
And I completely agree. And it should be a pay it forward type model, right? Yeah. But we can't minimize the impact it has on us as leaders too.
Yep.
A friend of mine, Dr. Andrew Abella, just wrote a book called Super Habits, and he summarizes a 13th century monk's view on what it takes to be successful in life. Wow. Thomas Aquinas. Very smart guy. Both Dr. Abella and St. Thomas Aquinas, very smart guys. And he has a little, one of the super habits is friendliness. And it's friendliness. That's a super habit. You want to be successful in life? Friendliness is a key super habit. And what he writes in the book is, he says, there's been studies that show if you're friendlier, you're going to be happier. So pay it forward to others so they can enjoy their job more, but do it for yourself. Right. So, don't just do it for others. There's a little selfish intent of being friendly, right? Because it'll have an impact. I mean, if you think about it, I look at you and I go, I'm pretty sure you're a pretty happy guy and you have a loving, caring family around you just by interacting with you, because you seem like a really nice, kind guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
But if I see other folks that might be more stern and less fun and don't don't reciprocate kindness, I kind of wonder about how sad their life is. Right. They could be very happy, but my bet would be you are going to be a much happier guy than they would be. Right. So
I appreciate the kind words there.
It's true.
Well, one of the things that also, as we're kind of descending here to closing the podcast, is we're talking about generations, we're talking about leadership, kind leadership and all that stuff, but where do you see the future of leadership? We talked about how the military is, all the different things. It's like, I feel like there's been a shift after COVID, and people are a little more mindful about how people are being led or the things that they want to do. So what do you see the vision? What do you think is?
I think as leaders, we need to kind of adapt and adopt to the mindset and mentality of those we're leading. And they're expecting a lot more loving and caring environment. And I think we need to kind of do that. At the same time, we need to be, because COVID created all sorts of challenges just with work in general, with location of work, in person, remote, expectations of employers, expectations of employees. So it really did mess with it all, right? In a lot of not good ways. I think it's made being an employer way harder, right? But I think we need to provide direction and structure.
Yeah.
We can't, and it's not unkind to provide direction, goals, high expectations. In fact, that is kind. That is loving.
Absolutely.
Hey, I want you to be successful. Here's what we're going to do to do it.
Exactly.
And people might initially resist, but in the end, they're going to go, this is awesome, right? This is great, right? So if you think about kids, if you just let them do whatever they want to do, they're going to say that's okay. They're going to go have fun.
Right.
But if you then provide them structure and they can achieve some goals, in the end, even kids will say, I want to have that structure. I want to have that because I can be more effective and productive. I can be a better soccer player. I can be better in class and I can still have fun. Right. So,
no, that's beautiful. Well said there. It's really the certainty and the clarity basically of where you're trying to take teams or people or whatever, the certainty and clarity, as well as with, wrapped up with the kindness and caring, right? It can take us very, very far.
That's right.
I feel, for sure. So thank you for sharing that. If you could have coffee with anyone alive or from in the past, who would it be and why?
The first couple people that hit me are probably just musicians. And I think they're I'd love to meet with Paul McCartney. I'd love to meet with David Grohl. David Grohl grew up in Fairfax County, Virginia. Apparently I may have played him in sports, like he was on a team and I was against, but I don't know how true that is. But they just seem like really, like Paul McCartney is such an amazing person. He changed the world. I always joke with my kids and go, do you know there was a time when this Beatles song, nobody knew it existed? Like some of those songs are timeless masterpieces, but before 1963, none of those songs, nobody got to benefit from those songs. Wow. So, and he's such a generous and genuine performer. When you see him, he knows who he is and he lets you appreciate him, right? So he seems like he's pretty cool, Paul McCartney. And Dave Grohl, I just think is the coolest guy. And he seems like a really nice guy. Unbelievably, to hit the level of fame with Nirvana and Foo Fighters, with what he's done, very rare. And he just seems like he could sit down and he could sit in the seat and share what being a kind leader is.
That's awesome.
Easily.
That's awesome. Yeah, we'd love to be part of that too if it ever happens.
Good luck.
Right? Awesome. Well, it's been a pleasure, Dennis. Where can our listeners, find you? I'm sure LinkedIn.
So I'm on. I'm on Twitter, LinkedIn. I actually do a lot of posts on LinkedIn now. I'm being more engaged there. I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, but you'll see me more active on that. And you'll also find us on our website, infinitive.com, to learn more about what our business is. And I'd love to, if there's anybody out there that's interested in perhaps a new place to work, we'd love to talk to them as long as they're all about kindness and having fun.
There you go. So. Love it. Any final thoughts here for there?
Gino, thank you. I love the topic of this. I love what you're doing. Congrats to you. What a great idea. Thanks for letting me be a part of it.
No, I appreciate it, Dennis. It's been a pleasure. Really enjoyed the conversation, and hopefully our guests really got some good stuff out of it, right? Because that's the whole point. It's like I want to give our audience and future folks a different perspective, from entrepreneurs to generals. Hopefully someday, are coming out here and we're talking about how can you truly be a kind leader and lead with that empathy, but with accountability as well, with expectation that we're going to get things done, right? And I feel like it's going to be a better world at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, good for you.
So thank you very much for your time, and I appreciate everybody listening. And I know I took a little break for the summer, taking the family out. So more episodes will be coming here pretty soon. So with that, be kind, bring value, rise together.